Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the 2023 AT&T Pebble Beach ProAm. This is going to be my preview show and picks. I'm getting this out early on Saturday, so as we know, the farmers, they just actually teed off for the final round, and we'll see how that all kind of ends. I've talked quite a bit about Sam Ryder, but did not see him on this kind of course of this tournament to be leading going into Sunday. But as we all probably know, that probably will not happen. And, who knows, maybe Finau can come out of nowhere, but it looks like Jon Rahm, once again, maybe might win back to back to back. So we'll see how that all plays. What I forgot to tell you guys on my last show for the farmers is I'm actually going on vacation for a couple weeks. And so when I had an opportunity before I leave to get you at least a quick show for the AT&T, I wanted to do that. Also, there will be nothing for the Waste Management, even though that is my favorite tournament, or one of my favorite tournaments on the tour. And so I apologize, but I won't have anything to be able to put out then. But I do have something for you here. Again, I don't really have DFS salaries, but I do have the field. So I did go ahead and give you my top 20 picks, again, with some, brief analysis. I haven't done a ton of dive, but I kind of like where I'm landing on that. And I can't do the betting because, well, betting's not out yet. But I can get you all the information if for some odd reason you have not watched this tournament a lot and you need to know a few little things like, hey, on Showdown sides and stuff like that, I can help you out there. So with that said, thank you for stopping by. This should be pretty quick. It'll be about 20, 25 minutes. Let's go talk some golf. Well, actually, funny enough, because I'm not doing a recap, I thought I'd talk football really quick. I told you guys maybe next fall that I'm going to be putting together also a football show for you guys. And I wanted to just give you a little information if you did not know. Of course, watching the Farmers yesterday, they had Jim Nantz, right, that kicked it off and was talking about that Travis Kelce there. Actually, at the very end of practice, had an issue with his back, pulled his back, something, and had to go off the field. And I think that's kind of interesting. So if you are going to play the DFS main slate, which is, of course, only 2 games, I think it's kind of interesting to look at Noah Gray. Also, I think that opens up a lot for McKinnon. Chiefs side, that's about the 2 guys that I'm going to be looking at is just McKinnon. I think he's going to get more ball share, and then maybe Noah Gray. Now, of course, I would expect Kelce to play, just like Mahomes is going to play. Of course, we know, we're getting all kinds of speculation. We've heard that, Mahomes has been practicing. Even Jim Nantz said that, hey, he looks good. My own personal opinion is I'm going to be staying away from on a DFS perspective and actually looking at maybe even getting the cheapest Bengals defense in there. And then, of course, the other game we got from the NFC, we're going to have Philly and the 49ers. And as you've also probably heard, Eli Mitchell has a growing issue. Does not look like he will play, which then I think is going to increase the load for McCaffrey, which I know he's been dealing with some, I think leg, thigh issues, but I wouldn't have any there. So you could also look to Mason. But where I actually want to go to is I'm going to be plugging in quite a bit of Deebo Samuel. I think that's going to increase the workload for him. And I also like Jalen Hurts at the quarterback position. So that is my quick little football spiel. Oh, and then if you're interested, I did a parlay bet. I got early, this is almost like a week ago, I took Cincinnati +1, and I took Philly, I believe it was -2 at the time. But that's the parlay that I'm going with. And just like I said, so not a ton there. I just wanted to talk a little football because, of course, it's wrapping up the season. We got 3 games left, and it's a big day tomorrow. Probably one of my favorite days for the conference championship games. And again, as you probably understand, I think the Bengals are going to pull it out, and I also like the Eagles. All right, enough on that. Let's go talk about AT&T Pebble Beach. Of course, we are staying on the West Coast. We're going to be at the Monterey Peninsula, California, and I told you guys, I think last year, that I had the good times of actually getting to finally play this track. I got to play Pebble Beach. I got to sneak in on a twilight, and it still was not cheap. The views are amazing. It's a course that, for amateurs that you can play. It's not long. Of course, the wind's blowing. That's a whole different, conversation, but it is not a long course, and it's just amazing views. And actually had my wife on the bag. They give you got to get a caddy, but she was helping out and got to walk the course with me, I guess is the best way to put it. It's a 3-course rotation. So back during the COVID time, they kind of narrowed it down, got rid of the amateurs. Everything that I understand, the amateurs are going to be there like we just saw at the Amex, and they brought back the full 3-course rotation. As usual, you're going to rotate and I believe it's, Thursday, Friday, Saturday between Pebble Beach, Golf Links, Spyglass, and Monterey. And then, of course, everybody who makes the cut, I'm guessing it's a 54-hole cut, will play Pebble Beach on Sunday. If you're curious from a Showdown perspective, the easiest course and the guys that you want to roster will play Monterey. Spyglass is the hardest, And then you would put Pebble Beach in there second. Of course, this tournament's been hosted there since 1986, and well, we don't really care who the architects are. And then if you see, again, Pebble Beach, par 72, less than 7,000 yards. So one of the shorter courses on track and the smallest greens that the guys play during the season. Then you got Spyglass, a par 72, a little over 7,000. And then Monterey is a par 71, under 7,000. You got fairways POA, and you got the rough is what I had from previous was 2-inch ryegrass, and of course we're still on these, POA, plinko, pumpy, bumpy greens. You've seen some of the guys out there, if you're watching the farmers, kind of struggling at times putting on these greens. So again, guys that are used to being on POA should have a little bit of an advantage. We are at a full player field, and it is a pretty, from my own perspective, again, I've done a little bit. I think it's a pretty weak field, which we were kind of expecting. I mean, with these elevated events like the Waste Management that's coming up, that we're going to have this. But I mean, still not terrible. I didn't even notice. I don't think I saw Patrick Cantlay in the field, but which is kind of a shocker. He's got to be playing, but I just, for whatever reason, did not notice. Okay, I jumped out real quick. I was actually curious. What I see is Patrick Cantlay is not in the field, and that's pretty shocking. He's had a great record here, loves to play here, of course, California-based. But what I see, he's not in the field. So yeah, a little bit of a weaker field. As I mentioned, 54-hole cut, and what I have here is top 60 in ties, which is a little different than top 65 in ties, but that's what I have. Historical cut line is somewhere around 500. Now, again, that's all dependent on what happens with the weather. And then, of course, last year, Tom Hoagie got his first one on tour, shot 19 under. And I think he's a great representative who I'm looking at, guys that are just deadly with their irons, pretty good off the tee. This is exactly opposite of what you need at Farmers. This is a more of a strategic, I'd say, plotter, where it's the guys that, don't hit it long off the tee, but hit it very straight, can put it where they want on each side of the fairway, and then have just ridiculous irons, also a good around the green and putting. So, where I was kind of leaning more at the Farmers or the guys that had the length off the tee, better ball strikers, and we'll see what they could do with the putter, like a Luke List last year. And the picks, I actually didn't even go through, but not great, not bad. I think it's been kind of on the average side. My Patrick Rogers that I was really hoping for came out and shot with 4 under, I think, at the North Course, and then stunk it up on the South Course and did not make the cut. And there was somebody else, can't think off the top of my head, who shot 6 under on the North and then shot 6 over and missed the cut, which is just crazy. But that's the way it can go there. Anyways, Daniel Berger, another great example. Not super long off the tee, long enough, but great iron player, pretty good short game, good putter. You got Nick Taylor, again, fits right in there when he beat Phil Mickelson. Of course, Phil the Thrill, which we don't have to worry about anymore, is on a little bit. He's won here a couple times. Now, he actually gained more length as he got older, but again, he was just, around the greens and putting was just amazing. And then Ted Potter Jr., which he's actually in the field, but he's not played very good golf in a long time, so we don't have to worry about him. I already mentioned these are the smallest greens these guys play, average around 3,500 square feet. So Harbortown, I think, would be next, where they play the RBC Heritage. So that will be a comparable course that I pop in here, even though they're Bermuda. And if average green size on the PGA is around 5,000 square feet. So it gives you kind of an idea of difference. Got a ton of sand out here. And again, this is specifically talking about Pebble Beach. 118 sand bunkers. You got the huge one big water hazard. That 8 holes run across on Pebble Beach, or run along, I should say. And then on the Pebble Beach, they've got to keep the greens a little bit slower because, the wind's coming off the Pacific. Typically, they put them around 10.5 and 11. The Farmers, funny enough, what I did here was that they were running at about 12.5, which is quite a bit faster than I was expecting with that Friday. Well, let me think about this. The Thursday second round winds that were coming in. Of course, DFS, we already talked about the greens, which, of course, smaller greens, it means you're going to be missing greens and you're going to need to have a really good, around the green up and down game. I already mentioned the 8 holes that run around along the Pacific, and added some native grass. So I remember, I think it would have been during the COVID, when there was an area that the guys could just drive it between holes way up on the left side. I'm trying to think what hole this was. I'm blanking out, but the water was all on the right. I remember specifically Jordan Spieth doing this, and there was no penalty for doing that. It took the water completely out of play. So like those kind of areas is where they added. So I would guess that was hole 9, 11, or 12. I don't remember off the top of my head. And the sand bunkers are a factor. Past notes is, back to the plotters, as I kind of mentioned, best on approach around the green, putting will win the day. Force layups take the big stick out of play at some of the holes. Of course, like 18, there is an advantage if you have some length. There's certain holes on here that, the par fives that, you should be able to take care of. But most of it is going to be just, strategically plotting where do you want to hit your tee ball and then getting a good iron shot, hopefully, and then making your birdie. Also, yep, just like the Amex, they have to set the course up for the first 3 days for the amateurs. So hence, that's going to help the scoring, and where they put the pin placements will not be difficult. And then I guess I was just stating there was some similarities of the Amex, which I did. So that's probably enough on the course breakdown for you. If you want to, again, some past champions, this is a little bit older. But of course, just you can kind of see that list. I think, I'm going to talk about this guy here as a cheapy play, Vaughn Taylor. I think if you know Vaughn Taylor's game, he swings. He's got one of the most smooth swings, pretty steady all around, and usually he should be somewhere in the 6,000 range. So I'll just point that out that he will be one of my picks for the cheapy plays. All right, and to get a visual representation, of course, I'm sure you've seen this. Of course, we had the U.S. Open there, back 2019. Hence, I even have Victor, who is in the field, and we haven't seen Victor since the Tournament of Champions at Kapalua. I kind of looked, he hasn't played in Europe, so he's just been taking a break and should be good to go. Of course, he won the U.S. Amateur back here, I believe that was 2018. Had a pretty good showing here at the U.S. Open. And then I think he's actually played this exact event once, and it wasn't great. I think it was somewhere in the 20s or 30s, if I remember correctly. But anyways, you get kind of a nice visual of those 8 holes that are along the water. Of course, you got that crazy little par 3 there, number 7. And we'll focus on number 18 a little bit more. So I kind of pulled this off. I think it was a year or two ago. I thought it was kind of interesting. Where, this is a hole you could definitely, have a possibility of an eagle. You want to stay on that left side of that tree. I've seen guys still, if they get on the right side, okay. But of course, if you land it short, it kind of hinders you, or if you hit the sand. I've even seen guys, which you probably have too, put it down in here and made some crazy shots to still make their, a birdie or a par. And this is actually just showing Nate Lashley, which is in the field. He has done well here. I think I maybe picked him as one of my cheaper picks. But again, he was, I think, the only one that eagled the hole on round 1. And if you've watched this tournament, this green really slopes hard to the left. I believe on Sundays they put it down here, if I remember correctly. But anyways, so that's a little bit about 18. And of course, that probably brings back some memories. Not going to spend a lot of time on a scorecard. There's really nothing. The only thing I was looking at is, where possibly you could pull together a consecutive birdie bonus. This was looking at Pebble Beach. Like I said, you can see the hard part of the course would be 8, 9, 10. The rest of it's pretty gettable. And I think there was one that I was looking at. Maybe it was 10. So this would be Monterey. Again, I think if I play Showdown, this is where I'm going to load my guys up. And I think I would lean to the guys that go off 10. No reason why, as you can see, you've got a nice area here to get a consecutive birdie bonus. And then you also would have the opportunity of 18. And then, this easier par 4. Now you've got one of the toughest on that course, par 4s. But if somehow you could pull that together, you kind of get, I think, 3 shots at a consecutive birdie bonus, right? You 10 to, 16, you have an opportunity in there. And then, of course, 18 and tying in with this number 2. It's the only one that kind of called out to me. And then, of course, 2 through 6 here you'd have. So that's what, whenever I'm looking at this, for me, from a Showdown perspective, I'm always looking, is there an advantage going off 10 versus 1? And as we saw, they did have split tees, and I believe doing it again today for Sunday. I believe it's just because of the sun doesn't stay up as long right now over in the California area. So even though they've got the field down to whatever 70-some players, 60-some players, that they still have to kind of split the tees and have these guys go off 10 and 1. And then I believe this is Spyglass, and I didn't see. Let me just take a quick look. So you have a little more gentle handshake coming off 1, and maybe there too. So I mean, if for some reason you were gonna take a guy off Spyglass, I would want him off 10 again, because if you see here, 17, 18, looks like maybe they had different tees. That's why typically if you see this double. But anyway, 17, 18, and 1 gives you an opportunity. Again, you got a 4, 5, and a 5 to get that consecutive birdie bonus. So that's a thought. But again, everything that I remember and all the information is at Spyglass. People, even if you talk to people, if you go to that area, will say maybe, Spyglass is almost a better scenic and course to play than Pebble Beach. That's kind of hard to believe, but I'm just giving you some input. If you're there, for some odd reason, cannot play Pebble Beach, but could get off Spyglass. I would give that a look-see. All right, so from a stroke gain analysis, as I've mentioned multiple times, I have been slimming down my models and really focusing on the key things. So when I would be doing my own analysis, I would do a larger model of everything I wanted to look at, just see who would pull up. And then at times during like the showdown process, as the tournament went on, I would create what a KISS, I call it a KISS model, which is just keep it simple, stupid. Let's just pull 4 or 5 key stroke gain categories out. And so the larger models have kind of gotten just slimmed until I see like there's, these 6 to 7 things that I really want to focus on. And the reason why that is when you have, 10 different stroke gain categories, then it kind of just, waters down the weighting and nothing really gets pulled out. So with all that said, number one here is approach. Next is, of course, good drives. This is not about length. This is guys that hit fairways or the first cut of rough. Putting next around the green. I still like guys that are ball strikers, so I put that in for a little bit. The number one proximity of the pin that shows up, again, this is Pebble Beach, is at 100 to 125, but it should actually roll across to Monterey and Spyglass. So 22% of the shots will come there. The next one that kind of stands out, I believe, was the 75 to 100 at like 7%. But again, just not enough for me to want to put it in here. And then one of the course defenses here is there is some par threes that are longer. I think there's 2 to be exact at 200 plus. So I put that in. And then, of course, you got to make birdies. And with that said, I created a custom stat models that we'll go through. And then I also want to talk a little bit about past winners real fast. Of course, I mentioned Berger, Nick Taylor. What did these guys do very well? It was all, again, what I mentioned, approach around the green and putting. Now, you still had to gain off the tee, but it wasn't crucial. I mean, you see Nick Taylor did not gain off the tee. And all that means is he still had probably a little bit of length, just wasn't hit as many fairways. But he did it with the putter. And again, on these kind of courses, you could do it a lot of different ways. I mean, if you're gaining 8-9 strokes with approach, you're probably not going to gain as much with the putter because you have shorter putts, right? So, but overall, it seems like the overall, arcing theme here is the approach around the green and putting. A little more different. So last year with Hoagie, Spieth, right, Bo Hosler came out of nowhere and just was, gaining a ton with the putter, which is kind of funny with him. He can do that. He's a good showdown play once in a while where, he can come out of nowhere, shoot 7-8 under, and the flip side, almost like a Sam Ryder, next day could shoot 5 over. Like that's just Bo Hosler's game. But again, you see approach was kind of king. I mean, Cantlay, funny enough, did it a little bit more with the putter and around the green. I'm guessing chipped in a bit. But if we look here, approach, the top 3 guys, and putter. And then again, off the tee, you can see like, not even gaining a stroke, not gaining a stroke, not gaining a stroke. You don't have to be, and you can look at names that have done well here. I think like Jonathan Bird, right there, who had a good showing and kind of came out, or Pat Perez, or here are some guys out of nowhere that, popped up on the radar. Joel Damon, I was actually looking at him, funny enough, I didn't even know he finished 6th, but could be, this would be a kind of a course that fits him, right? He actually, his one win did come out of Coastal Course, so there's some thoughts to that, but I believe that was past Palmer, Bermuda. All right, so as I mentioned, with all that said, I did create a recent form model, like all the models I typically give you guys. Problem is I don't have any DFS salaries out. So when I do my picks, I did my best to kind of, I know where a lot of these guys kind of will fit in from a pricing standpoint. So I try to make it spread out so it's not, hey, here's all the expensive guys. Well, that doesn't do you guys any good. So with that said, if you look at the past 24 rounds, no filters turned on against my model. So the last 6 tournaments these guys played. I weighted approach at 25%, around the green at 10, putting at 10, good drives at 15, ball striking at 15. And then you got proximity at 10% at 100 to 125. And the par threes, actually 2 to 225 is how I had to do it there, 5%. And then 10% on birdies. Just a little side note. I didn't even check, but I don't know if Colin Morikawa has ever played here, but if he has not, it makes no sense. If he ever plays here, I will bet him outright. This, out of like one of the guys I think that is just elite, with the irons and, of course he needs the putter. He's doing okay at the Farmers. Could be doing a lot better if he was making some putts. Would be Colin Morikawa, of course, also California. I mean, the guy should just light this course up, but I don't know if he's ever played here. So just a total side note, when I was looking through the player field, I was kind of looking for him and didn't see him. All right, so Ben Griffin, a guy that I've been talking quite a bit about, been playing pretty heavily. Tom Hoagie, again, this is kind of Tom Hoagie season, this area. Should be a good fit for him. D. Smith, the model always loves. Believe he missed the cut. He was one of my picks for the Farmers. David Lipsky, again, just has been firing the irons. It's just, this is the issue right here. If the putter goes, watch out. Also could be a good, first round leader bet or a showdown play, Russell Knox. Funny enough, on POA, he's actually doing that. Not that this is reflecting just POA, but he's had some success on POA, and I kind of like him as a play. Ben Taylor, so my Ben guys, Ben Taylor, Ben Griffin have been, going to my lineups. There's my, buddy Ricky Bobby Shelton, who I believe made the cut at the Farmers, and like him, good ball striker, competitor. He's a little more elite off the tee than these guys, but shows up. Alex Smalley, I think, is a great fit. Todd Lato Griffin, remember we were talking about him for the Farmers. He hasn't played competitive golf in 7-8 months. Came out and I think shot with 500. I believe that was on the north, but handled his own. I think he shot 200 on the south. So, my buddy Lanto, actually I'm playing a little bit in Showdown finale today. Mark Hubbard, who, I thought he was going to get a win. I think this is a great course for him, but he's just kind of had sporadic golf. Will Gordon, I kind of like him a little more on longer tracks. Sadoshi Gadire can get super hot with the putter. Also, I like him, kind of plug him as, another kind of first round leader. I've hit him a few times, as I mentioned. Then Andrew Putnam has been playing good golf and, of course, has all the things we need here. He's not long, but he's accurate. He's got a great putter and great all around the green. So I really like Andrew Putnam for this event. Now, if you want to see even more recent than the last 6 tournaments, this will be the last 3 tournaments. A lot of the same guys just kind of switched around. So I'm not going to go through and name them all. If I see somebody that pops at me, Victor Hovland came in, Killer Keith showed up, and Detry. So some of these guys got pulled in, and Cameron Percy, who I told you guys is, maybe this is a better fit. I mentioned on the Farmers that he's kind of sneakily will get you that 6 guy in at like bare min price. I think he definitely missed the cut if I remember right. But this is a course where Cameron Percy could do something. Also, if I remember correctly, I think he's an Australian and does play okay in the wind. All right, now let's go to the history at Pebble Beach. Who's done the best here again against my model? And it's good that I see Kevin Streelman pops up number 1 because that tells me my model's on, because Kevin Streelman over the past 5 tournaments here, I believe is second in strokes gained total. Now he's never won, but he's just over and over top 10 this place. You got Neesmith again, just the model lover. Typically it's the putter, but funny enough, showing the putter here, at least if you pull the last 6 rounds he's played here. So probably go back to Neesmith. I mentioned Nate Lashley. I like him a lot. Von Taylor. Arjun Atwell, no thank you. I think he was like the worst out of the first 2 days at the Farmers. But funny enough, this course would fit him a little better than, of course, the Farmers. You got Spieth, Knox, McNeely, local kid, always typically does pretty well here. You got Stalling, Zinju Dao. I have no clue who Marcel Seam is. I've actually heard of him, but I don't have any background information. You can also see these guys have only had 2 rounds here, so I wouldn't really hold that, and that typically means it's also just Pebble Beach. So you got the Hofster, Troy Merritt, Nick Taylor, and Tom Hoagie rounds out the end. And then here's that looking at the last 5 tournaments they played here. Who's gained the most strokes? Of course, George Spieth's done very well. Past winner, I believe that's 2017. I would guess he's going to be the most expensive and probably the chalkiest. Of course, we got to remember what happened with him. Shooting 5-6 under, and then came out and shot 5 or 6 over and missed a cut at the Amex, I believe. But this course should suit him. I don't know. I did not pick him as in my top 20. I have some other ideas. Because I'm guessing he's going to be the most expensive, and I don't know. I haven't seen the play, even though, of course, he won RBC, but I've always stated that RBC Heritage last year, I felt like he didn't win it. I felt like other guys lost it. That's my own opinion. I'm not hating on Jordan Spieth. I like the guy. I think he's a great guy. I don't know. If he's the most expensive, I probably not playing him in the large GPP DFS. But again, depending on my picks. Okay, that was way too long. Nick Taylor, Troy Merritt, Stallings, Knox, McNeely, Hoagie, Lashley, Hosler, Neesmith, Taylor, Dan, a lot of the guys that I just been talking about show up that they've had a good success here. And also for you one and done folks, you can get a good idea. Maybe, you want to play Jordan, Streelman, if you just want to burn a dude and not get into, especially for this event. I mean, again, it's not an elevated event. McNeely could have a great Knox. Like I said, it gives you some ideas of maybe who you want to play in a one and done if you get to play in a one and done. Of course, in Michigan, we don't have that option right now. Now, this was interesting to me. I looked at it from multiple different rounds, and I just was not getting a good read on, the POA putters. I guess I was getting names that I was kind of shocked. But anyways, I went with 12 because I believe this more than I did the other. You got Zach Blair, Jonas Blix, which should be like min price. It could be a sneaky play. Kisner, we know, is a good putter, but his game's been just terrible, at least in 2022. Bryce Garnett's been playing okay. He fits into that plotter. Landry long, Chesson Hadley. Funny enough, I was looking at what I put last year, and he was my long shot pick. I believe it was like 250 to 1. I might go back there. I think, again, this could suit him. I kind of look at him as a little bit cheaper, lesser Andrew Putnam, but just maybe not as accurate with the driver and the irons. Kuchar, perfect fit for this course. You got Justin Suh. Jeff Ogilvy, kind of a shocker. I mean, I've been watching golf a long time, and at one time I think he was number 4 in the world. I mean, the guy was just elite with the irons and putter. It was unreal, and I guess he kind of took a spell away from golf. I think he's like 45 now. I'm just telling you, if you don't know who Jeff Ogilvy is, I wouldn't worry about him. I'm just saying it's kind of interesting that he's trying to play a little golf again. Bill Haas, Jimmy Walker had a pretty good little showing right now at the Farmers. Ryan Armour, McNeely, Scott Harrington, always a cheap play that can get you to the weekend. And then I put Victor Hovland in here because he showed up at 16, so it's your top 16 guys on POA. This is probably the list that, if you ask me, Kirk, out of all the stuff you're showing me, what is the best list that I would, kind of make my picks from it? I would take this one right here. And it's best on approach, that the guys that I'd be looking at. So you got Hoagie, Knox, Hahn. I mean, it's funny, around the green, these guys struggle, and then Hahn out of the putter. Like that guy, same thing with the Showdown play. I've seen him shoot 6-7 under, and then just, the putter, he just is hot with it one day because he's got a good tee to green game. It's just typically he's really bad with the putter and around the green. There's my Ben Griffin again. There's Hubbard. EVR, I'm very interested. I will bet him. We saw what he did at the Amex, and because that guy, when he is on, I think he's one of the best iron players on tour. The putter, he just has to be close. You got Lipsky, Smalley, Neesmith, Ben Martin, Lanto, Hadley, Colin Tarrant. Nick Hardy, I can't think of him as more of a ball striker. Where does he show up on here under ball striking? Yeah, number 12 out of this field. I mean, so not that he's bad, but it's just you can see his short game. And I think I used him once in Showdown, and he just crushed me. I think he shot like 5 over. Like the day before, he probably shot 6 under. I liked what I was seeing, and then just crushed me. And then Trey Mullinex, again, we kind of know he's more on the ball striking side and struggles here, but did get a win last year. Then what I did for best on approach is I wanted to look at that proximity, 22% of shots coming in after your tee ball, and see. And again, I really like this list. It's very similar. You got Knox, Hoagie, Sungyeol No, could be interesting little play. Davis Thompson, which showed up at the Amex. Lipsky, Bramlett, Robert Garrigus, Stewart, Todd, Watney, Griffin, Villajagus, Webb Simpson's here, and Sadoshi Gadire, and then Austin Cook, who I'll talk about my picks. I think could be a sneaky cheap play. And then if you're curious on comparable courses now, this is, I put them all in here, but you're like, whoa, that's a lot of comparables. That's, 7, and then including Pebble Beach. These ones here, Fortinet is definitely POA, and then I don't know the Travelers. I don't believe that's POA. But really, all these kind of play they're all plotter courses. That's the short of it. You got TPC Southwind, you got Seaside, where they play RSM, you got Harbortown, you got John Deere, very tree line, again, plotter, Colonial, where they play Charles Schwab. And so it does tell you a good story of who should do well on these kind of tracks. And number 1, Seamus Power, which I agree with. Funny enough, the lefty hammer and Hank Laboda, who's just been a disaster lately. But if you're looking, I don't know what his odds will be betting, but if he could turn it on, this would be a good fit for him, right? He had a nice run there. It might be 2 summers ago now. It seems like it was forever. Lipsky again, Neesmith, Ryan Armour, Hoagie, Stallings. There's Vaughn Taylor again. Jordan, you got Colin Tarrant, Killer Keith, Andrew Novak, Troy Merritt, McNeely, Wes Bryant, which that kind of terrifies me, and then Victor Hovland. Wesley Bryant, pretty dang good ball striker, just pretty horrific. You can see with off the tee, he can get wayward. All right, so real quick, again, I don't have the salary, but I want to at least pull a list together of guys that I'll be playing while I'm in Florida without. I probably won't be using maybe I'll have it, but if I just was like, hey, these are the guys that I wanted to put together in like a player pool, this is who I'd be looking at. And again, this is really the only rank this is on my rank against my model over the last 3 tournaments these guys have played. And our number 1 comes up Lipsky, Taylor. I got Smalley, like Knox, Hoagie, Ben Griffin, Victor Hovland. It could be the most expensive. I guess he's right up there with Jordan, Ryan Armour. I know Cook, Austin Cook, who did make the cut, I believe. Yeah, made the cut at the Farmers. He's been playing pretty steady golf, but typically he's going to should be, and it's a weak field, but should be in the 6,000 range. You got Nate Lashley, Grace's Sig, there's Putnam, which I believe will be more expensive. McNeely will be up there, probably in the nines. Shoot, Putnam will probably be in the nines. Yeah, Nick Taylor, I think, Seamus Power will probably be in the nines. I think EVR should be around the sevens or eights. Badley's been playing pretty good golf, good putter, and he should hopefully be in the sixes, maybe low sevens. Kelly Craft definitely could be a sneaky one and has had some pop-ups of goodness. We'll say he should be into 6,000. Vaughn Taylor. So like these guys on the bottom, maybe Troy Merritt might be a little bit more expensive. Like, and when I say that, like in the sevens, but I would guess Vaughn Taylor, Kraft, Badley should be 6,000s, and Austin Cook. So I try to, like I said, go through and pick the guys. So you could, if you're going to put in I don't know, Hoagie, Hovland, McNeely, you're going to have to probably plug one of those guys in. But anyways, you got my top 20. Again, I will preface that I didn't put super ton of knowledge, but again, it's a weak field. I know these players, been watching them a long time, of course. And then, of course, even looking at just the numbers and kind of agreeing or disagreeing with who I like to play. So that's it, guys. It was going to be a quick show. Funny enough, I got DJ on there back. He used to love to play here, right, with his, his father-in-law, missed the great one, Wayne Gretzky. But and it's funny, I still got when I crossed over 1,000. So that was last year, I guess this time, or a little bit older. But hey, guys, I just really wanted to get a video out again I've got my, 300-400 people that, always watch, and then sometimes we get new people, but I think a lot of people wait, probably maybe in waste management might be the main crux of it, from viewership, we'll put it that way. But for my steady honest opinion, well, I wanted to get you guys something out. Best of luck to you guys. Have a great Pebble Beach and waste management. Like I said, I'll have nothing out for waste management, but if you have a question, I will have Fantasy National with me. I will be putting some teams together. Feel free to hit me up on YouTube comments or on Twitter. Just follow me, subscribe if you've not, so you can hit me up on the comments and then hit me up on Twitter. And all the best to us. And hey, enjoy the football. See how that all works out. All right, guys, take care, and I'll talk to you guys in a couple weeks.